Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly. As we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
It is John Pollock and Wai Ting. Welcome one, welcome all to Rewind-A-Dynamite. Are you ready?
I'm good to go. You know, we got a big weekend ahead. Just did about 25 minutes talking about the day's news. Thank you for that, John. A whole lot more to discuss for the rest of the week.
That is right. We've got Night of Champions on Saturday, and Wai and I will be here on Saturday evening sometime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Saturday night, look out for that. Sunday, Wai and I will be back after Forbidden Door. Sunday night?
Is that even considered the evening by the time we start that particular podcast?
I'm going away on Monday very early, and I'm going to be dead. When I realized how this worked out, that it's the day after. I've planned like 2 mini family like vacations this summer, and both of them are the day after an AEW pay-per-view. It's like, why have I done this?
Jeez. So, you're welcome to like take the evening off if you want, or at least like, you know, you could tag out halfway through the show.
Well, that might be the option. Maybe I'll give the hot tag to Neil. No, I'll be fine. I'm looking forward to this show. That's on Sunday. Davey and Braden will be covering Great American Bash. That will be on Monday at 11 a.m. that they're going to be doing a show. So we're going to have all the shows covered and written coverage of all 4 major events on the site as well, with Slammiversary included. On that note, we're going to dive into what was a pretty packed edition of Dynamite, where the question was, could they pack all of this even in their AEW overrun edition of Dynamite? And in fact, they did, and really no one got shortchanged. Like, there was one sub 5-minute match on the show with the Young Bucks. Everything else had time. Like, we had 6 matches here of these 8 going above 10 minutes. So they did not get shortchanged. They were in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, with WrestleTix last number 2,386, which is down 23% from last May when they were here with 3,103. And all I'm going to say to that is that if they were down 23%, I don't know what you could do more. Like, if I just saw this lineup, like, I don't think you could put a more attractive lineup. It just comes down to, I guess, if you are intrigued to go and see live professional wrestling, and I couldn't imagine a better TV card that you could assemble on a week's notice.
Hard to exactly say, but I mean, I will say this is a lineup that caters very much to, you know, like a lot of it does cater towards more of your Forbidden Door crowd, like the audiences that may see, I don't know, Zack Sabre Jr. as a bigger deal. So I don't know how much it would have meant to maybe outside of, like, you know, the people that chose to come, but I think it's more of a discussion about just what exactly is lacking with the live experience that is not getting them to break through this threshold that they seem to be kind of stuck at.
It is like we talk about their pay-per-views, and it sounds like their pay-per-views are doing very well, but the week-to-week television, it has not correlated. It has not resulted. Like, even if we're looking here, like, forget the idea of doing like 6,000 or 7,000, like just replicating what you did a year ago. Like, they were off by, no, not quite 1,000, but you know, you're down 23%, and you would feel like this company does feel hotter than it did a year ago. But you know, maybe there are, you know, there's enough examples we have of the TV where some have done better, but this is the general vicinity of what they are drawing at the moment. And there is something missing where it does not feel like the TV is necessarily, when they're coming to your town, that it's this immediacy, at least in large numbers. So the Death Riders are in the back, and Moxley is giving a big pep talk that this is what we live for, live television. And it's a historic segment for the Death Riders because Ospreay is invited in for the huddle, and he gets to participate.
Yeah, he's also. I mean, this is also keyed as the Death Riders. It's not keyed as Will Ospreay plus the Death Riders or the Death Riders plus Will Ospreay. So I mean, it really felt like it was a segment designed to just show you how deep into the group Ospreay is now, to the point where you might just consider him a full-fledged member. He also shares a bit of a he's dizzy after the huddle, which makes the group laugh, including Garcia. So it just continues to maybe show the camaraderie that now exists between Ospreay and the group, and will probably lead to a pretty heartbreaking breakup later in the future.
So Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta open the show against Mystico and Brodito. And Bandito gets stomped down in the heels corner at the beginning. And in comes Mystico with a multiple Revolution tilt-a-whirl on Claudio. Tags in Brody, and we get some great spots here with Brody using a double Greco-Roman knuckle lock and coming off the top to Moxley and Claudio. That gets a big pop. They get back into control of Bandito. Moxley goes after the fingers, and then Brody kills Moxley with this cannonball. Bandito deadlifts Claudio for a brainbuster, and then Marina gets onto the apron, and it sets up a belt shot by Claudio to Brody, and Moxley getting the cover in 12 minutes and 18 seconds. And they emphasize that after last week's win by Brodito and the Death Riders are now 1-1. So it looks like you will get another Death Riders versus half of Brodito on Sunday, but maybe another tag scenario to come post Forbidden Door.
Perhaps, yeah. It was a match that, firmly puts the Death Riders and Moxley on the heel side of things, like you would expect in a match against Bandito. I thought Mystico looked incredible here. He really did feel like a special attraction, and to me, the star of the match.
He looked great. Bandito, I thought, looked good. I think Bandito and Moxley, I think this is a really big match in Bandito's mind for his career to have on Sunday as well. So, and I'm always curious to see Moxley in these, just different styles of opponents and how he lets his style amalgamate to who he's working with as well. But yeah, very fun opener that these guys had. One of the few backstage segments was Renee with the Briscoe team minus Mark. And Darby says he will do anything physically possible to win on Sunday, which is a scary threat, and hopes that the others will do the same. Roderick's just like, no, man, it's just a cage match. I'm just going to take it easy. And Roderick blames MJF for what he did to my friend Adam, which is one of our first references to Adam Cole in months. And they state that Mark Briscoe will be here later on. It's a double taping. Mark was going to come late, stay around for Collision. Marina Shafir, Harley Cameron, survival of the fittest qualifying match. And we see the footage of Harley Cameron with Willow Nightingale at the Supergirl premiere, which was also sponsoring, well, at least advertising on this show, complete with Harley Cameron in the colors of Supergirl coming out. Now, if this was WCW, I would assume Harley Cameron's losing this match. But this is a company that does try for synergy, and I thought the opposite. I was like, wow, she's going to beat Marina, because this would make no sense for Supergirl to lose this match.
I guess you're right. I guess I didn't really think
they had
about
the big graphics all around the ring. This would have been so funny if she had lost in this match. But anyway, Shafir starts the match, and they did this a lot throughout the night, where it was kind of like the ECW segue, where someone from the last match is already out and we just bleed into their match. That would happen several times to keep the show moving and not having to overdo the entrances. So Marina is in boots, which they state is after the glass spot that she did with her feet, but then midway through the match removes her boots anyway, and she is throwing Cameron with all of these hip tosses. But Cameron would mount several comebacks, is utilizing a half crab, escapes a bow and arrow, and then she comes back, gets the half crab a second time, and it's turned into a rear naked choke by Marina, but Cameron flips backwards and catches Marina in 7 minutes and 51 seconds, surprising Shafir, who's almost got like the smirk on her face that she got caught by Harley, who will now join the field for next Wednesday's TBS title match with Hikaru Shida, Chris Statlander, and Persephone.
I would hope that this win over Marina Shafir would lead to something a bit more between Cameron and Shafir, because otherwise I would hope that they wouldn't be so willing to give Marina Shafir losses like this. even though it was, like scheduled or at least designed to be like a, 1, 2, 3 kid Razor Ramon type of win. I just hope that they're a bit more protective of her, even with the co-promotion with, Warner Brothers and whatnot. I thought the match itself was just okay. I can't necessarily say if it is continuing and had me clamoring for that much more. I like Shafir, but I still think she lacks a certain maybe, meanness and energy for the role that to me does get exposed a little bit in these longer singles matches.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron has certainly improved. You can definitely see that. There's still, in a long, I mean, I won't say longer match. This was about 8 minutes. It's not like it was super long. You can
But
see
it's more wrestling from her than a tag match, which we've seen a lot of. Her.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had a video from Mercedes Moné and Maya World. I guess this was all from the countdown. And Maya looking at Mercedes as a teacher, but now it's her opponent. And she's been waiting her entire career for this moment. And Moné responds, "I'm not your teacher. I'm your boss, bitch. And dreams don't win championships. I do." Some good lines here from Mercedes. And, I think that this is one of the more anticipated matches on Sunday, mainly for the outcome. Like, I do think people are invested in this Maya World story.
Certainly. And it's for that reason that I wish they would have let, if this is from a countdown show, I wish they would have maybe let this play out a little bit longer or given us a bit more than what felt like 60 seconds at the most here. Especially for Maya World, who you're kind of letting the internet tell their own stories, but like I do think like to feature her more, to make her feel like a bigger presence in all of this. I would have loved to have heard her speak, whether it be in person, like with a face-to-face, something that felt a little bit bigger and a bit more prominent than like a 60-second thing. She's wrestling on the Collision tapings, in what is kind of being billed as the main event, with her and High End taking on Mercedes and Athena. So that's something. But I do kind of wish like more of the personality and more of the storytelling, will be showcased to a larger audience. In particular, now talking about exactly how Mercedes influenced her. There's just so much there beyond just, her own personal tragedy, of course.
I would have had these two have a similar segment to Ospreay and Swerve last week, like something in the ring and,
or even like a sit down in the back between the two of them,
Swerve then comes out. Oh, sorry. We go to Ospreay and El Phantasmo. Crowd's immediately into this, and they're having these great athletic sequences between them. And Ospreay gets dumped onto the edge, and El Phantasmo puts on the sharpshooter. Will gets to the rope, and then we see a handspring into a corkscrew kick by Ospreay. The stun dog is blocked as Phantasmo turns it into a backpack stunner, and we see these big strikes, some Kawada kicks by Ospreay, and Ospreay is caught on the shoulders, stops the UFO, and the hidden blade is countered with a snap Rana as they up the intensity. CR2 gets stopped into a Styles clash by Ospreay, and then wins with the hidden blade in 10 minutes and 41 seconds. Really good match between these two. I thought like they had, for 10 minutes, they did not disappoint here. And I thought Phantasmo was a really good opponent for Ospreay, as he has been in the past.
Great little match that sort of like previews the whole Forbidden Door nature of, this particular season. And, like when El Phantasmo first came to New Japan, I really saw him as like the heel equivalent of Will Ospreay in the junior division. And this match kind of played out that way, with the both of them almost feeling like stylistic clones of one another. Lots of counters, booked to look, I would say, pretty evenly matched up until the finish here. I think it's the type of match that's perfect for a TV audience, even if you know nothing about either El Phantasmo or the history between the two of them, because it was just great action, well coordinated, well executed, fast. And I hope it means ELP will get more opportunities for these types of crossovers.
So Swerve comes out as he shares a look with Ospreay, who exits through the crowd, and we go into Swerve and Daniel Garcia. And I really enjoyed this. They had Garcia immediately going for Swerve's knee with these dragon screws early on, but then he's caught on the floor with a house call, and we see Swerve stomping on the hand. He misses a Swerve stomp on the edge, and it's another dragon screw by Garcia. They continue on, and Garcia is hitting him with all these clotheslines. Swerve just eats them, won't go down, and Garcia then goes to the knee. And this has been weakened on Swerve. He catches Swerve in the ankle lock, and after escaping and doing this power bomb into a power slam. Swerve goes for the house call, but his knee buckles and it gives out. Really nice spot that you weren't expecting. And then it's Garcia using the Styles Clash, which we had just seen from Ospreay. Again, this is the most prostituted near fall in pro wrestling, the Styles Clash. No one wins with this thing except AJ.
Nobody does it like AJ.
I guess so.
Or
and Michelle McCool.
Michelle McCool,
Yeah, the faith breaker. So he survives the Styles Clash, hits the house call, but Garcia kicks out. And so Swerve holds up on climbing to the top and instead hits Garcia with the hidden blade to win in 12 minutes and 24 seconds. A really nice match that these two had. I liked this quite a bit.
Agreed. And for me, it continues to be interesting to follow like the heel babyface dynamics of like the Death Riders members. And here you had Garcia, who I think, even though he himself is like I would say more on the heelish side of things within the Death Riders, who like earlier were firmly established on the heel side against Mystico. This was him playing a classic Daniel Garcia underdog babyface role, and it's all in service of the Ospreay match, of course.
Swerve is not done. He goes to snap his arm, but Ospreay runs out, saving his fellow Death Rider, and sets up for the hidden blade, but Nana grabs Ospreay, and it leads to a house call, and Swerve is going to go for the vertebreaker. Garcia saves him, and instead, it's Swerve going for the vertebreaker before Ospreay chases them off with a chair and sends Swerve out of the ring. And that was our final segment with Swerve and Ospreay going into Sunday.
Good angle to make this match a bit more personal. They did establish maybe a little bit of a relationship here between Garcia and Ospreay by, I guess, Ospreay making Garcia laugh by falling down, getting dizzy. So it makes this a little bit more believable that Ospreay would want to get revenge on Swerve for what he's doing to Garcia. Of course, it also serves to show what specific weapon Swerve has to target Ospreay's bad neck here in the vertebreaker. I mean, overall, it also deepens Ospreay's ties to the Death Riders. He's not just training with them now. He's trying to avenge, a fellow member's, I would say, injury here.
The Don Callis family is with MJF in the back, and we go through all the different members of the team. Knight still wants his title shot after Forbidden Door with Max. Okada is asked to speak, and he simply says, bitch. Fletcher is coming for Takeshita. As soon as the bell rings, he is the new alpha. And then as Andrade is about to speak, MJF cuts him off and cuts his promo on Mark Briscoe, stating how MJF was born white collar, while Briscoe is a blue collar bitch, and says, yes, I never have kicked out of the J Driller because I haven't needed to, because it's never been hit when the title is actually on the line. And then he just kicks Trenton Romero out of the shot and complains about Andrade before Callis calms them down by showing off the brand new t-shirt design of Dawn and MJF.
Yeah, which is like one of their airbrushed
Yes,
paintings.
I think this is another Melanie Coleman specials.
Is that right? Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That only features Dawn and MJF, and of course, I don't really imagine Okada or Fletcher or many of them wearing it willingly, but we'll see. Maybe they will.
Maybe they'll be selling this in San Jose.
It makes you wonder. Yeah, this was a good reminder of just like all the individual rivalries that are taking place within this match, and also what's at stake here for MJF in his future opponents with Kevin Knight and Andrade as well. They keep treating Roppongi Vice like they are pretty much like the jokes of the Don Callis family, and I do wonder if it's in service of something or if they're just like the new sort of clowns of the group that are just there to be made fun of.
I'm sure it's for some reason. I'm not holding my breath for it, but I'm sure something will eventually materialize. Maybe Forbidden Door next year.
Maybe.
Let's keep hinting at this. Jack Perry against Zack Sabre Jr. We have Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nichols in the corner. So Zack works on Jack Perry's shoulder. So he essentially had one arm for most of the match. Nigel even brought up Zack winning the Best Technical Wrestler award all these years in a row until
he keeps saying best wrestler. Without
he said best wrestler.
technical.
He did clarify later as best technical, but I caught that too. Best wrestler in the world. But then Danielson threatened to sue if he didn't win the award, which is named after him when he had come back. So now Zack is back in possession of the award. So he wrenches on the arm, catches Perry in an arm bar on the floor, and gets yelled at by Bryce that he can't win on the floor. So Zach misses a stomp on the edge. There's a sliced bread by Perry, Orihara moonsault, and then Zach takes Perry to the mat, uses a triangle, and Perry powerbombs his way out into the snare trap, and Zach takes the arm, breaking free and trapping the leg of Perry, hyperextending the injured shoulder for the submission in 13 minutes and 12 seconds. A match to certainly emphasize all of Zach's submission weapons going into Sunday. But I thought Jack Perry, this was a good performance from Perry, selling the arm and such, and the crowd got into this one at various points.
I really like this match. Like, it was probably my favorite match of the night up until this point, and maybe that just, like, for me reminds me how much I might skew towards like a Zack Sabre style, especially like in the G1. To me, like this felt like a sample of like the type of match you would see in the G1 if Jack Perry was in it. Number one, I still can't believe they haven't given this guy promo time on Dynamite. But if you want
this post match, he basically forced his way to get a promo in by killing the music. That clearly felt like an audible being called.
He gave himself promo time, and like clearly maybe he was frustrated in all of it. But
they
that
sent
to me,
a dickhead.
That to me is like the only maybe missing ingredient if you were looking at this as like an introduction to Zack Sabre Jr. for people who may have missed all the previous Forbidden Doors for whatever reason. But as a match to maybe remind you of who he is, this was, I think, a great way to show how captivating and exciting his technical style can be. Like, great sort of like out of nowhere aggravating of Jack Perry's arms, very unique entries to like these various arm bars. And you had a great, impressive pretzel-looking submission there that I'm sure has a fucked up name that we weren't able to, or Excalibur did not identify here. But I also thought Perry was excellent here. Like, this seemed to be the type of match where he was looking at it as an opportunity to showcase like his technical wrestling ability, and I thought he looked great both on the attack and also fighting in this style. So to me, it was like a perfect setup match for.
I thought it was one of Perry's better performances of recent memory. I thought he looked very good in this match. I too would have preferred if the camera just followed Zach to the back and he goes in front of a white backdrop and then stares into the camera. Listen, Kenny, this is what the frequency is on Sunday. You're going to be all static. But unfortunately, we did not get that. Instead, we stick around for the Young Bucks to come out and face Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nichols. And this was the shortest match of the show. They brief heat on Matt, and then Nick comes in for his Superman comeback on both. PK to Tito on the floor and Meltzer driver in 4 minutes and 22 seconds, prompting Zach to get some more camera time. He returns going after Nick, and that sends out Kenny Omega with Jack Perry. And Zach and Kenny go face to face, and they start attacking when the crowd is cheering this on. There's a snapdragon onto Zach, and he sets up for the V-trigger when Tito rescues Zach from taking the V-trigger. And Omega says, "It's nothing personal with Zach. May the best man win. And once I do, I'm up for my redemption."
Yeah.
Which is also the name of next month's pay-per-view. And everyone is going to forget about Zach after Sunday, just like last year. And Zach was like, "Oh, fucking not. Give me the mic." And the music is playing. He literally kills the music to simply say, "Stay out of the hospital, okay, mate?"
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, if you're going to kill the music, you better have like a pretty good comeback line beyond.
I know. At least he spoke. I mean, this does seem to.
Yeah, he needed a better promo. I think people very much sleep on his talking. Is like, that is what got him to like the next level in New Japan. Like, the wrestling has always been there, but it's this dick personality that has really shined through and would work with just a couple of weeks of promo time. I think this. Yeah. I don't think this match reached kind of like this dream match setting that maybe when they first announced it, they were hoping this would represent on the show. It's going to be a great match. I'm just saying the hype for it, I don't think has exceeded just what your reaction would have been when it was first announced.
Yeah, the rivalry, like, I don't think has been established that well. I mean, for one thing, the promos, other than like the Zack Sabre Jr. video package that we saw to initially introduce it all, it's really been one-sided. And I mean, Kenny hasn't had bad promos, but I don't even think he's the best promo among the two. At least like
It's been a lot of it, the goofy voice. Like when he drops the goofball delivery and does New Japan delivery, which apparently he can only do in that country. He's an amazing promo, but in AEW more often than not, well, Zach, looks like you and I are going to have a little matcharoo. And that's like what we get out of the guy.
That would be the type of thing that I could see Kenny Omega saying. Yeah.
We had a Tekla video. This was amazing. We got the big package for Tekla, the main event of Sunday, Tekla versus Taro Okada, where she shows up at the conversion. We get footage of her with the shears to try and shave Taro's head and being kicked out of the building.
Sorry, let me just pause you. It seems like they have an online exclusive with Zach with his comments after the match. So again, don't want to get flagged. We'll watch it afterwards, but at least we got that.
How with this look on his face, how can we not listen to this? Okay, I'll take back everything we just said over the last 5 minutes.
No, I don't.
It should have been on TV.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sounds like they got a great digital team. Did you realize that whole $250,000, whatever Dominic and JD lost, that was a digital segment last week?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I heard. Yeah.
I love Tekla. I think this is my favorite character in AEW.
She's great.
I want her to deliver the mist to Taro Okada, do something to Taro Okada, shave his head, do something on Sunday. That's my favorite segment we're gonna get on Sunday. Red Velvet and Queen Aminata. This is our 7th match of the show. So they had some hiccups early on. Queen Aminata went for this Uranagi and just stopped and just turned it into a swinging neck breaker. There's a bulldog counter by Velvet. And then, so Red Velvet is going after the neck of Aminata that she had the previous injury of, and they were mentioning how much time she missed. But then it picked up at the end where Red Velvet hit this Cazadora off the turnbuckle. Frog splashes the back, and Aminata kicks out, and after ducking a spin kick where Red Velvet did her own I'm sorry, I love you, Queen comes back with a soccer kick, which is what Flair should have done in that match. Soccer kick, Sean. And she wins after the soccer kick in 10 minutes and 15 seconds as Aminata becomes the 5th of 6 people in the match. So they have one more qualifier to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the match hurt a little bit from lack of identity. I think neither really have that much of a higher profile, at least to a Dynamite viewing audience, and they got no real promo time nor video package to build to this tonight. So I don't know if this crowd favored either or any of them to win.
They were in shock. They're like, whoa, there's a second women's match on this show.
So at that point, you really just have I think, in-ring quality to rely on. I felt like the action was ultimately good enough for them to win this crowd over. I thought Velvet seemed especially motivated here to show off her style of using a lot of ropes and very cool looking technical twists around her opponent. Aminata managed to stand out by the end with her hard striking, as she often does. So by the end, I certainly felt they got the crowd.
I did like the finishing sequence that they had. Renee's with the Young Bucks. They state that momentum is on their side, and they're on their way back to the top of the tag division. And they get interrupted by a brawling Copeland and Christian with the dogs coming down the stairs. And Copeland and Cage pause, look at the Young Bucks, and I think this was very intentional. And they just continue fighting with the dogs. And after Connors gets sent into a wall on a wheelchair, they come back and spray Cage and Copeland with hairspray into the eyes after Finlay used the makeup woman as a shield, and they choke out the champions with cables. And somewhere in all of this, Finlay had the old style Christian sunglasses and said, anything you can do, the dogs can do better. And I don't know if what I was thinking here, but given it was the dogs and they're just panning down, for a second, I thought they were going to piss on them. That was what the camera was leading you toward, unless you were about to say something.
No, I felt the exact same thing. Yeah.
Anyway, so there's our segment. I totally forgot about this match was part of Sunday's show as well until they did this brawl.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like one of 3 feuds the dogs are currently taking part in between Cope and Cage, the Bucks, and Bang Bang Gang. So it just really feels like a bit of a sort of stepping stone for Cope and Cage en route to redemption.
The Young
certainly.
Bucks.
Yeah, probably. Like I could see the Bucks match at Redemption, and then All In might be something bigger involving. Well, who knows? I would assume FTR would be back by then.
Like you could do Bucks, Copeland, and Cage straight up match in Montreal, and then you have the ladder gimmick for Wembley potentially, and maybe you do have FTR involved, or even we'll
New
go
Day.
through the show later as well. Like I'm curious, like how the dogs fit into all of this as well. Are they just the opponents of the month, or do they have something, some involvement down the road? So the main event, Konosuke Takesita, Ricochet for the international title. Everyone is banned from ringside, and Ricochet, dude, he comes out of the gate. Fosbury flop, missile drop kick into the ring, space flying tiger drop, and a springboard 450. All of that was like within 40 seconds of this match beginning. He's in control throughout picture in picture. It's all Ricochet, and he goes for a shooting star to the floor. Takeshita catches it and hits an exploder on the floor. And Vertigo gets countered into the bastard driver, wheelbarrow German, and then Ricochet flips out of the corner, hits Vertigo, but only gets a 2 count. And we see a shooting star press off the top, connecting for Ricochet. Again, Takeshita kicks out, and Takeshita tries for a German off the top turnbuckle, and Ricochet flips over, landing on his feet, misses with the spirit gun, and he gets caught with the last ride powerbomb. And then Takeshita goes for the power drive knee. This was the one like awkward spot. Ricochet was like going to get Paul Turner in the way to block him. But the way it was done, it looked like Paul Turner was just blocking Ricochet, and the crowd all got on him like, ref, you suck, because that's how it looked like. It was just, it was the only like hiccup in this match, and it kind of affected the flow here. But they continued on. The distraction leads to Ricochet headbutting Takeshita and hits the Rico Salt for a 2 count. Spirit gun gets stopped, and finally Takeshita pulls down the knee pad, power drive knee, and Raging Fire for the win. Still a really great match, referee spot aside.
Agreed. Yeah, really strong main event here. I would say, I mean, very little drama in any sort of title change, but it's almost like it's not what this match was about. It's more of the incredible athletic display between these two, and I thought both men for the most part were really just perfect here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. The crowd was into it. And the final segment is Mark Briscoe, who had been promoted all night, comes out, cuts a promo, reminds people that the last time the conglomeration had a big match like this, they beat the Death Riders at Blood and Guts. But this one has higher stakes because he could get a title shot. MJF, you can have any opinion you want. You can say whatever you'd like. But the last time we shared a ring, I won. And I have partners that would die for me. You have the Don Callis family who don't give a damn about you. They wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Maybe the dogs would, but they would not. And so Callis comes out, and it's a distraction leading to MJF attacking Briscoe from behind. Briscoe fights back, and he teases the J Driller, and one by one, everybody comes out in order. We have Fletcher hitting a brainbuster onto Mark. Takeshita attacks Fletcher with the Raging Fire. Okada hits a Rainmaker to Takeshita. O'Reilly's in with an ankle lock to Okada. Knight comes in, springboard clothesline. Darby with a Scorpion Death Drop, and a coffin drop attempt is caught by Jake Doyle, who lays out Darby. Roderick is in next. Orange Cassidy follows, and it all leads to MJF kicking Cassidy low and Mark returning for a J Driller attempt. It's his second try at it when Andrade appears and saves Maxwell, and MJF still is annoyed with Andrade, shoves him, and pulls out the Dynamite Diamond Ring, misses Mark, and lays out Andrade. And then Mark hits the J Driller on the third attempt. So overall, like a good setup here for the cage match, and also leading to all these potential title matches for MJF coming out of this, whether it's Mark Briscoe, Andrade, Kevin Knight. There's all these teases of various title matches for MJF.
Yeah, like they are kind of like positioning this one as like it's all building to MJF versus Mark Briscoe as like the top prize. But I have to say, of the list of options, I might be the least interested in that of everything else that they're trying to sell us here. And I think they've done a great job of just continuing to like hammer home all the little storylines that are involved in this match. And it continues here. Like this felt very much like the segment they did that actually interrupted the match. Am I like remembering? Anyway, they're very good at these sort of like stacking. Like one guy comes after the other, and then another guy saves him. Like types of segments. Except this one was out of the body of a match, and I thought did a great job of hyping up the crowd. So good segment overall, and I think a good way to build to what really does feel like the main event of this pay-per-view now.
Yeah, I feel they probably close with it. I think Ospreay and Swerve is the biggest match that they've pushed, but I do see this one closing.
The spectacle will be this one with the cage and just like 12 people in this ring, right?
So I thought like wrestling
14 people. Like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
it's 12.
6. Sorry, it's 12. You're right.
Yeah,
12.
I thought that this was a very good wrestling show. I do feel like for your go home show, I don't know if you want to just load it with wrestling. Like, yes, you can build up matches through wrestling in ring, but I think like there were some opportunities, I think, that you could have saved a handful of these matches for Collision and had some segments like Mercedes and Maya World being on this show, for instance, having maybe some more time for Kenny and Zach. But minor things. I certainly don't feel like this pay-per-view reached the level of like going into Revolution, and certainly not Double or Nothing, but it still does feel like a very good show on Sunday. I'm curious to see how this one performs in comparison to some of the recent ones where, they've had some really big stipulations and a lot. They've promotionally built up several big pay-per-views this year.
I feel like in this particular cycle, there's been like a little bit of conversation about just like the Forbidden Door concept and maybe what value it really presents AEW at this point, or in its initial sort of like years. I mean, it really did feel like a special part of the thing of the season because you had a lot more stars in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Well, now for the most part, those stars are either retired, out of the company, or in AEW themselves. So, and you're also talking about like an incredibly hot streak of pay-per-views that AEW are producing themselves that almost feel interrupted by something like this. Like rather than having the sort of Forbidden Door like concept be some sort of like, I don't know, feature, it feels sometimes a bit more like a handicap. And again, like you're gonna be talking to a number of sickos, like ourselves included, that I think will be very excited, for maybe even a match like Kenny Omega versus Zack, certainly. But then you've got like Shota Umino versus Pac, which I don't think is really doing anything, for anybody out there. The rest of it really is just an AEW show, right? Tekla, Starlight Kid aside.
What if Shota had come out tonight on his scooter and given us his go home promo?
Yeah, I think he was missing from the show, was he not?
I think he was too. All right, well, let's go into. You want to run through the pay-per-view?
Sure. Yeah. Did you want to do this like on the free side of things or on the?
No, we're going to say goodbye to everybody here. On the other side, we'll be doing the preview of Forbidden Door. So if you're on the YouTube channel, folks, the real fun begins on postwrestlingcafe.com. The XL version continues for all our members as we're going to go through the pay-per-view. And
we're going to do the New Japan. We're going to cut it off. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, although we're going to have a more natural break rather than, oh my God, New Japan World, available now. Stupid. All right. Goodbye on the YouTube channel. We're back this weekend.